Here we are. Here we are. Boy, early in the morning. How you all doing out there? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Here we are. Glad to see you all. I'm glad we're here. You're glad we're here. We're all glad we're here. Um, I don't know where to start today. I feel good, man. I woke up. I woke up early and I thought, man, I'm going to take a shower and do my podcast. I got lots to do today. I have an appointment at 7:45 this morning. Another one at 12. I got to go do a bunch of stuff in between. I have a busy day ahead of me. Anyway, I'm glad to be here. I'm glad you're all here with me. I can't believe you guys are still hanging in there. Yay, yay. I haven't checked how many subscribers I have. Maybe someone should, don't forget to click the like button. And if you haven't subscribed yet to my channel, subscribe. It seems like I have more viewers than subscribers. No, more subscribers than viewers. Yeah. That's the exact opposite of how most people's podcasts are. Most people have more viewers than subscribers. So the people that subscribe and the people that view on my channel seem to be the same thing. Rick, I got those pins you sent me. That was nice of you. I'm not that kind of a pin guy, but maybe I'll write with that pin. I don't know. But it sure is a cool pin. I was looking at it. I was thinking, man, that's pretty cool. Do you make those yourself? That's pretty trippy if you have the skill to make those pins. I think I looked at that and I went, whoa, dude, you made this yourself? That shocks me. Anyway, very cool pins. I put it in my little cabinet there, and I'm going to try to use it, see how it works for me. But it is really nice looking. It's almost too nice. I always feel like, oh, do I deserve something that nice? You guys know how I am. I go, ew. Yeah. Anyway, here we go. We're going to talk about I got stuff to do today. Ted. My amps, you wanted to know what amps I used today. I used acoustic amps, and I had 4 big bass amps with the 118 in each bass amp with a big folded horn. Those were the 4 things. In the middle, I had 3 mid-range, high-end amps by acoustic with 2 15s and a horn. And that was my setup. That's what I played. So there you are. Trent. I don't have lyrics. I write my lyrics. Lyrics are always hard for me. You know how some people write tons of lyrics and they put music to them? I'm exact opposite. I play a lot of music and then I have to struggle to put words to it. So I don't have piles of words waiting around for music. I have just the opposite. I have piles of music around waiting for words. But no, I don't have a bunch of words. Words are hard for me. They've always been hard for me. Your nickel. You wanted to know why there's no sauce in the stores? Well, I'll tell you something. We don't have a big tub of sauce that we put in the bowl and you eat it. We prepare each bowl of killer shrimp on a stove. We prepare each bowl and killer shrimp on a stove, and each bowl of sauce is prepared live. It isn't like there's a bowl of sauce waiting to just go in all the dishes. That doesn't work like that. It's not that kind of a sauce. It's a kind of sauce that has to be cooked in different stages. Different ingredients are thrown in at different times. It's like a little science experiment. You throw these things in, you cook it. And I made this machine and it shakes all the pans. So it has 4 pans and it shakes the 4 pans. And so we can cook 4 at once. And we cook it at a real high heat. And if the pans weren't shaking the whole time, the whole thing would burn up. That's how high the heat is. So we got this real high heat. We put these ingredients in there and we keep watching it. And then we put the next ingredients in and the next ingredients. And then we top it off with something. And then we take it and put it in a bowl real fast. And so it just wouldn't translate to, we've tried it before, but it wouldn't translate to being packaged and sold in a store. It's not the kind of a sauce. It's actually a prepared dish, Yeah, it's a prepared dish. So each bowl of shrimp is made for that person that ordered the bowl of shrimp, and the sauce, and it's made right there on the stove with all fresh ingredients, and the people. Anyway, that's how it's made. It's really intense, man. The people that are making it have to pay totally close attention or they'll burn the whole thing up. Uh, so. Yeah, it's a real prepared dish, and that's why it's so flavorful. You couldn't do that. You could get the sort of the same flavor, but it wouldn't look the same. It wouldn't be luxurious and taste the same. It's really a whole deal, that sauce, man. It's really amazing. But I'm glad you asked me about it in stores. It just wouldn't translate to stores. It's not that kind of a dish. It's like if you went to a gourmet restaurant. I hate to say Killer Shrimp's gourmet, but it is. If you went to a gourmet restaurant, they would prepare the food for you there and prepare the sauce and put it on your plate, and it's really delicious. That's sort of the same thing. We prepare the bowl of sauce for the person that's eating it, and it's really delicious. Yeah. That was your nickel asked that question. And Trent asked about the lyrics. Touring Circus, the Dodge Dakota in my movie that we destroyed. I rented that truck, but I told the guy I was going to destroy it, so he charged me a huge price to rent the truck. And so I rented that truck, and he drove the truck over and parked it on my street, and we destroyed it. And then he took it back to his car lot. There's a guy I know that owns a car lot. Yeah, that's the story of that. And you're right, it costs thousands of dollars to do that. You know, we thought a lot about it. I could have just told the story in the movie, like I do here on the podcast, but it wouldn't have been the same. You had to really see it to understand how fucking crazy it was. And really, I was sitting here, and we saw that happen right outside my door, and we went, whoa, whoa, and this guy just rode up on the bike and destroyed the truck. You got to watch my movie. If you haven't watched my movie, go back and watch it. It's called Welcome to My Street, and I think you'll like it. I hope you'll like it. Lonesome Dove, I never owned an 8-track. Kurt Busey, or I guess that's your name. I didn't know Bill Champlin, but I liked his music. I thought he was a soulful guy. Bradley Rush, I like Joel Christie. I don't know how we got together originally, and he played with me on one tour. And I always liked Joel. He was a real likable character, a real gregarious individual. And I can't remember how we got together, but I really liked Joel, and I enjoyed playing with him. It was his energy. He had this positive energy. I think he was in Hair before. I didn't know, Jeff, I didn't know Video Bob Mosley. You said it was different than the Bob Mosley I know who played in Moby Grape, but this guy, Video Bob Mosley, I never knew him. Rick, I don't remember what Day of Change was about. I just, a lot of my songs, my old songs, I don't remember them too well, and I could go back and listen, try to figure it out, but I don't want to do that. Think what you want about it. I don't know what it was about. Globe Thistle. I don't remember how long it took to do the recital album, but I do remember Larry Knechtel played on it. He was a great bass player, and before he was a bass player, he was a keyboard player, and that guy has perfect pitch. So he said that perfect pitch was like a curse. Everything sounds out of tune. So I didn't know him well, but I was really honored that he played on my record because he was a real player and had perfect pitch. And yeah, I really liked it. And he was in some band. What band? Was he in Bread or one of those bands? He later went on to be in a band. But he was a successful studio guy. So he just came in and did the session and left. That's my only contact with him. It was very brief. And yeah. Rick Day. I knew Rick Day, man. He played around with me a little bit. Rick was a crazy guy. I'll tell you a story about Rick. I think he wrote that song for Paul Revere and the Raiders called Just Like Me. So that was his sort of claim to fame. He wrote a song called Just Like Me. But Rick came down to L.A. and went to this dentist's house, and they had a tank of nitrous oxide. Let me tell you about nitrous oxide. The old hippie rule is when you do nitrous oxide, you do it standing up, because you put the hose in your mouth and you suck it up, and you'll pass out. And so then if you pass out and you're standing up, you'll fall down and the hose will come out of your mouth. Rick made the mistake of sitting on a couch and putting the hose in his mouth, and they found him unconscious with his lungs frozen, and he was dead. And he was really too young to die, but he was one of those guys that partied pretty hard. Yeah, he partied pretty hard. Rick Day, man, I haven't thought about Rick in a long time. It was really tragic when he died. He did nitrous sitting down. So all you people, if you ever do nitrous, you got to do it standing up, because if you do it sitting down, you're liable to pass out and die. And that's what happened to Rick. He passed out, and they found him there sitting on a couch with his lungs frozen, and he was dead. My suggestion is don't do nitrous to begin with, but if you do it standing up. That's the old rule of the nitrous. Goodbye, Goodbye. I don't remember why it was a single or why it wasn't on the album. I don't remember anything about it. I don't even remember that song. Fiday Tama. Yeah, man, I love Crosstown Traffic. 48 Tama. I guess that's your name. I love Crosstown Traffic by Hendrix, man. You really can't name a Hendrix song that I didn't love, but I love that song. I forgot all about that. Crosstown. Oh, I'm burping. Yeah, Crosstown Traffic. Jimi Hendrix. Man, Jimi Hendrix he still rocks my world, man. He's good, you know. I don't go back and listen to a lot of old stuff, but every now and then I listen to some Hendrix. Mr. Gamecock. And my birthday, I wasn't thinking about playing at my birthday. You asked me what songs am I going to play at my birthday. My birthday party is not going to be a concert, man. I'm just going to get together with a bunch of people and hang out. If I play, that'll be an accident. But I'm not planning on going to Killer Shrimp and having a concert for my birthday. Yeah. So any of you that are thinking about showing up, expecting me a concert, man, don't show up, because I doubt that I'll be playing. Or if I do play, I'll just tinkle a little bit. But I'm not going to play any songs or do oldies to rock your old world, man. I'm just not going to do that. That's not who I am. If I was going to do that, I'd go be out playing and going around playing all the Indian casinos or whatever people do. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. See, you read between the lines. You got to listen to what I say. Every day I get up and think, nah, I'm not going to have a birthday party. But if I do have a birthday party on my 80th birthday, it's not going to be a concert. Shit, what are you talking about, man? Going to have a concert for my birthday? I don't think so. So, yeah, Mr. Gamecock, you're barking up the wrong tree. I'm not doing that. Dirk. All the early piano songs I used to tack piano. My little piano that I played, and the piano that they sampled for Principal's Office and all those songs, that was a tack piano. I bought that piano myself, and I put the tacks in it myself. I put a tack in each one of the hammers. Anyway, all of my early piano stuff was all tack piano. So you asked me if I ever used a tack piano. Yeah, that's all I used. Gordy, man, Teagarden and Van Winkle. I love those guys. I love Teagarden. In fact, he was out in L.A. for a while hanging out, and I really loved Teagarden and Van Winkle. And you know what I loved about them? I loved Teagarden was such a nice guy. He was just one of the nicest guys you would ever meet, man. He was a soulful, nice guy. You said he was from Detroit. He talked with a Southern accent, so I don't know if he was originally from Detroit or not, because he had a drawl like he was from down south. But maybe he was from Detroit. I don't know. But I met him in Detroit. Yeah, I met him in Detroit. But I hung out with him in L.A. a lot, though. You know, there in Malibu there's a place called Tranca's. It's a part of Malibu out by Broad Beach, and there was a club there, and he was playing at that club, so I went there, you know, and we would hang out. and he had a truck. He had a big truck with a box in the back. But inside the truck was like a little house, and he lived in that truck, in that house, you know. But you couldn't tell anybody was living there. It had no signs that it was a habitat. So on his breaks, we would go in there and smoke pot in his truck, you know. But the sheriffs would come around in the parking lot, the fucking sheriffs. They would come around in the parking lot at Trancas and try to bust people for smoking pot out in the parking lot. So the sheriffs would be creeping around, being really weird. And so we would go in the truck, and we heard people outside, and we heard the sheriffs outside, so we had to stay really quiet. So we would be sitting in his truck, but we were being really quiet because we knew the sheriffs were walking around trying to catch people. But he had a really cool setup in his truck. It was like a little apartment inside his truck. So the back of the truck had just enough room for his organ and stuff, but the rest of the truck was like a little house. And we used to hang out in that truck. And I love that guy, man. He was a great guy. I don't know whatever happened to him, but I really liked him. Him and I hit it off, man. Yeah, Tea Garden. I love that guy. And we used to hang out in his truck, and the sheriffs used to be trying to catch people. Yeah, M. Bennett. That cat in that picture, you asked me, what is the story of that cat? That's just something that Randy had at his house. I think his wife who died had that, she had that cat, was one of her decorations. She was very materialistic, and so she had all these expensive things around. So I'm sure that cat has a story, but I don't know it. Yeah, I don't know the story of that cat at all. But it was just sits there, you know, and that's where I had my keyboard set up, so. Yeah. Elisa, I didn't say I liked rap. I said I liked hip hop. You got to understand there's a difference between rap and hip hop. Hip hop is sort of like the new R&B, you know. Like when you go on in the song list and stuff, R&B songs, they consider R&B songs, they're like old-fashioned black music from years ago. That's what R&B kind of has, that flavor. But the more modern stuff, and it could be songs and it could be very musical, the more modern stuff is called hip hop. You know, hip hop is the genre. Rap is one element of hip hop. You know, so there's hardcore rappers that rap and talk really salacious stuff and cuss and do all the things. But the thing I'm talking about when I talk about this stuff, so you hate rap. I'm not a big fan of rap either. But the rap style has creeped into a lot of black music and a lot of everybody's music for that matter. I was talking about that yesterday. But so when I say I like hip hop, I'm not saying I like rap. But there is some rap that's okay, but most of it it's not for me. But there is elements of rap in a lot of the black songs and the black music, and it's really good, man. So hip hop, and I don't know what songs to recommend. You got to go find what you like. But Elisa, I didn't say I liked rap. Yeah. I understand how you feel about rap. Some of it's really hard to stomach, but, hip-hop is different. It's like the current black music of the universe, and it's really good. The Git Fiddle, you asked me about my most embarrassing moment on stage. I just can't remember being embarrassed ever on stage, you know. I never had an embarrassing moment. You know, I said a few things I wish I wouldn't have said, but yeah, we're all young. We all say stuff. Raleigh, you asked me what is a counter melody. A counter melody is little stuff you hear going on behind the scenes. Like you got your main part of the song where the person's singing, they're singing, and then you got stuff going on in the background. Sometimes it's just strumming, but a counter melody is like a little line that goes through. Like you've heard it, like like in the Rolling Stones when they go dun 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 dun, and they play a riff. A riff is kind of like a counter melody. Like there's a song, but there's an underlying riff underneath it. That would be called a counter melody too. But a counter melody is just a little icing on the cake that's under the thing. And sometimes it can be voices singing the counter melody, and other times it could be just a little musical sound doing the counter melody. So when I say counter melody, I mean stuff that's going on in the background of the main song, you know. So, and I can't give you any examples of counter melody. You have to listen for yourself. My stuff. I wasn't a big Jethro Tull fan. And yes, I stopped smoking pot for good because I think I was smoking this super strong pot that would just knock your brains out. And then I had that little mini stroke, and I didn't realize at the time that I had it that it was due to smoking pot, but I'm sure it was now that because after that, every time I would smoke, my speech would start slurring and I couldn't talk as good. So, and then a few times it was really profound. I smoked and man, I could barely talk. And then I realized, because that's what happened when I had my little stroke. And so I realized it was all hooked together. So I stopped smoking pot completely, and I'm never going to smoke pot again because, I could see it was definitely affected my brain and my ability to speak. And it was sort of scary. I was smoking, and all of a sudden I can't talk right, you know. And Dylan goes, "Whoa," and I go, "Whoa," and we were sitting here, and Dylan was here when I stopped. And we were smoking for a couple of years. Him and I have these really great joints that you buy, these pre-rolls, and they got keef in them and hash oil on the paper. Man, you smoke one hit and it knocks your brains out. But that caused, I think, my little brain episode. I had like 5 MRIs. And they couldn't find any evidence of the stroke, so they said it was so small. It was such a small little stroke that it didn't even show on the MRIs. So, but it definitely showed in my speech, and it definitely showed. Anyway, that was that got my attention completely, man. I couldn't play. I type. It was all weird. I couldn't type right. I couldn't play right. I thought maybe at the first I thought, maybe I'll never be able to play again. I was really fucking devastated. And then we started smoking again, and then I started correlating it between smoking and speaking. And when I saw it was affecting my speech, I went, okay, that's it. I'm done. A lifetime of smoking pot. It was time the universe was telling me it was time to stop. Once again, you got to listen to the universe when those little questions come up. You got to listen to them. I'm going through everything fast today because I have lots to do. Dean, you asked me what the case was the court case was that I was so upset about that those guys won where they lied. I had them build a custom recording thing for a custom mixer for me and everything, and we agreed on a price, and then they like tripled the price and held my equipment hostage, and then I broke into the building and stole my equipment back. It was just a fucking totally insane, and then they sued me. And we went to court, and I told the truth, and they lied, and they won. So that was the story of that. So, but it was over recording equipment. I was building something. I was building a real progressive thing at the time. It really advanced, and I had this idea, one of my crazy ideas. That was a big mistake, dealing with those guys. It turned out they'd ripped off some other people, too. They'd ripped off Van Morrison on a project, and so these guys were just scoundrels. But they won, man. We went to court, and they kicked my ass. So there you go. Elisa, I don't run my music by anyone. There's nobody I go to and say, what do you think of this? I just do what I do, and everybody just thinks what they want. I have no control over what they think. Space Ghost, I don't know what a guitar is, but I did like Patrice Rushen. I thought she never got as popular as she should have. You know, Patrice Rushen, she was very talented person, and I really dug her early stuff. And but I don't know what a guitar is. I have no idea. So there you go. Mr. Gamecock, I don't know what songs. I really don't. I don't know what songs I would play if I was making a playlist of Killer Shrimp. But what I always tried to do at Killer Shrimp, I wanted to play songs that no one had heard before. So if I could play a whole bunch of songs and Nobody recognized any of the songs, and they were going, "What's that? What's that song?" So that used to be really a great thing about Killer Shrimp. I would play some songs that people didn't recognize, and then the customers would say, "Wow, what is that song? That's really cool." And so that would be my idea if I was going to make a playlist at Killer Shrimp. My goal would be to play songs that people liked, but that they'd never heard before. And they would go, "Wow, what is that song? What is that song?" And that was kind of my approach for the music. So, yeah. Yeah, I would play the unexpected. That's what I would play in Killer Shrimp, the unexpected. And that's what I try to do in the virtual world too. Sometimes people come around in the virtual world and I play the songs I like, and they go, "Wow, I've never heard any of those songs," and I think it's so cool. If I can play a whole set of songs, and they haven't ever heard them before and they're liking them, that's really great. It feels really good. So the unexpected, that's what I would play at Killer Shrimp. Onda, I think that's the name. Odna. Odna. Anyway, I never met the German in Venice. I kind of like to meet him. He's a funny guy, and he's been around for years. I've seen him before, naturally. I've seen him on the boardwalk and stuff, but I've never rolled up on him and said, "Hey, German in Venice, GIV." Anyway, but I do watch his podcast sometimes, but he's turning into sort of a Hollywood fanboy. I liked him more when he had a little store in Venice and he was all about Venice. And that's when I joined his podcast way back in the day. I was one of his earlier subscribers. Man, he has like hundreds of thousands of subscribers now. But I've never approached him, I've never approached him. If I did run into him or I did meet him, I'd invite him for lunch at Killer Shrimp and go talk to him because he's kind of interesting. He's an interesting character. GIV. Yeah, he kind of leaves me cold when he starts doing all this Hollywood stuff, and I don't know, I'm not into that, like I liked when he was doing more about Venice. He still comes to Venice and does stuff, but it's different. Spud Monkey, I didn't know Glenn Hughes. Sorry, dude, I didn't know Glenn Hughes. Didn't know him. Jerry, Hendrix was the only guitar player that I ever heard play that I thought, man, I would love playing with that guy. I heard a lot of guys that were good. Like I used to like Jeff Beck's guitar playing. Jeff Beck had a really unique style. I went to one of his sessions once and I played his guitar and the strings were way high up off the thing. And it was really interesting because he plucks the strings with his fingers, kind of plucks them. So his guitar was totally different than any setup I'd ever seen. Yeah, Hendrix was the only guitar player that I ever heard that I thought, oh, I'd love to play with that guy. And then he came to my gig and wanted to play with me, and man, it was like a dream come true. Eric Clapton, he never really rocked my world. You asked me about Clapton and Beck. I really liked his sound and his approach, but Clapton just seemed like I don't know, it just never moved me. And I could hear his virtuosity naturally, but you know how music is. Some stuff moves you, some stuff doesn't. Okay, Matthew, did I have a Spinal Tap moment? I don't know exactly what you mean by a Spinal Tap moment. You mean a moment where you were, where you felt really pathetic or really like just a joke, I think the closest I ever came to feeling that way was when Van Halen is, before they had a record deal, and they opened for me at the Whiskey, and they had a real crazy following of people. And anyway, they opened for me at the Whiskey, Van Halen, and they just blew me out of the water, man. I'd been living in Hawaii for a year, and I came back, and it was like my first gig when I came back from Hawaii. And I was all mellowed out from being in Hawaii, and I was playing, and then they came on stage. They were just on fire, man, and they burned me to the ground, man. I watched them play their set, and I went, wow, how can I follow these guys? They were so good, and their audience was going insane, and they were just this hot up and coming LA band, and nobody knew that. All their fans knew them, but they weren't on a label yet. But all the labels were trying to sign them. They were like the next big thing. It was obvious, and they burned me, man. They burned me to the fucking ground. Maybe that was my Spinal Tap moment, because I remember playing on stage and feeling very lame, and their fans were blowing whistles while I was playing. They were blowing police whistles and stuff. They were. Yeah, I was. That was really wrong. And I always thought there was this guy, Milton Berle's nephew, and he had something to do with booking bands, and I think he booked them in there. What was his name? Something Berle. I don't remember his name. Anyway, he was just one of those characters around the town then. But they burned me, man. They burned me having that band open for me. I always felt like I kind of got set up, but that was my fault. There was a lot of times where I burned people too, so I know what it's like when you play so good that the person following you doesn't play that good. So that if there was ever a Spinal Tap moment, I guess that was it. Anyway, yeah, that was it. I remember those guys were nice, so yeah, they were nice. They were on fire, man. They were so good, I couldn't believe my eyes, man. They were on fire, man. They were hungry and they were fucking on fire, man. Yeah. So that's the end of my podcast. Today is a short podcast because I have stuff to do. I'll see you all on Monday. Hit the like button. Go to subscribe if you haven't subscribed. If you know anybody you can get to subscribe, tell them to subscribe. I was contacted by one of our loyal viewers who might be helping me be a little more organized in my podcast. That would be nice if that works out. Just because I'm totally unorganized. I can barely make this whole trip work. But so anyway, I'm still looking for help. Trying to get my shit together. But in the meantime, we're all having fun. I love you guys. I guess I'm out of here. I feel like I should talk more about it. So go back and watch back episodes. Go back and look for episodes. There's some crazy good episodes in there. Yeah, there's some crazy good episodes. This person I was talking to about helping me, talking about cataloging all my back episodes so I can actually tell you which episodes to watch and tell you some of the good stories. We'll see how it works out. I'm going to meet with them and we'll see how it works out. Yeah. Anyway, I had fun. I'm sorry I went through all the questions so fast. I didn't have any stories. None of your questions triggered a story. Oh, I know what I was going to say. Yesterday I was talking about how music is our only chance and creativity is our only chance, but nobody pipes up and asks me questions about that. You just ask me, did I know this person? Did I know that person? I don't mind answering your questions about did I know this person or did I know that person, but it would be nice if you guys reacted to some of the concepts I'm talking about. Like when I talk about creativity being our only chance, and in the world of chaos and stuff, creativity that's the stuff, the good stuff, in a planet of chaos. The only thing that isn't chaos is the creativity. It's just like good, So, we could talk about, you guys could ask me some questions about those kind of things. Anyway, I don't mind answering all your questions about did I know this person or did I know that person. Yeah, I don't mind. I'll just say, yeah, either I knew him or I didn't. But you asked me if I knew Teagarden and Van Winkle, and then I go, wow, I love that guy. And I tell you the story about hanging out in his truck and the cops coming around, and we were all quiet because we don't want them to know we're in there. Yeah, your questions are good, and they trigger stories. I can't believe all the stories your questions have triggered, so don't get me wrong. Your questions are what drives the whole podcast forward at this point. But I'd like some input on the concepts I'm talking about, like the universe and just, yeah, give me some feedback here. Okay, I love you guys. I'll talk to you later. 3, 2, 1, poof.